Thank you for joining us today and welcome back to WAMS Webinar Wednesdays. Today I'm joined by Kathleen Kvitek, WAMS Director of Training, and we are going to teach you a few things about working through Microsoft Teams. So for those unfamiliar or those just jumping onto WAMS Webinar Wednesdays, a little bit about us. WAMS has been around since 1974. We have been legal specific from the beginning. We keep agreements friendly and always believe in a win-win philosophy for us as well as the clients. We provide you experts with certifications in every platform that we work with. And as always, we stay dedicated to your success. And speaking of us being dedicated to your success, a little bit more about why we love Teams and why we chose Teams to talk about. So we love the quick chats and the fast response and the ability to just have a quick question answered as opposed to having to wait for the person you've asked the question to get through all of their emails. And it also just reduces inbox clutter, especially in internal emails. It's so much easier just to have a quick chat with a person or group. Within the teams that you create, which Kathleen will kind of elaborate on more, you can also set up channels so you can talk about different things. You can set up channels for different projects that you're working on. For our sales team, we have a few channels for different things. And even if you want to set one up just to talk smack, or if you want to have a channel set specifically for a sports team some of you are interested in, or anything like that, you're able to set up those channels so all of your conversations are organized. Long story short, we love the ability to manage projects together. Like I said, you can do that through those channels and within your teams. That's really, really helpful. It just provides for smoother collaboration and communication, and it's also just quicker and more efficient. You can also easily start a meeting right within your chat. So say you're talking with 3 of your team members about something and decide, it would be better if we could just hop on a meeting right now and actually have a voice call. You can do that with ease. We love the fact that it has security backed by Microsoft, so it is safe. And we love the mobility of it. I use the Teams app all the time. I love that when I'm finishing up lunch and I just want to take a quick peek at what I'm coming back to, I can just, instead of being in front of my computer, I can hop on my phone and look at the application and see what's going on. So you kind of always stay in the loop, and I really love that too. I also really love that it integrates with other Microsoft products, and scheduling is so easy. The calendar management is great. I love that it integrates with my Outlook calendar. So say I do want to schedule a meeting within our chat, and we're kind of talking about something and realize we really want to shelve this for a later day, give some people some time to chew on the discussion and think it over, have more to talk about, and come back and collaborate. I can just go into my calendar and set up that meeting, and I can already see what other meetings I have, what else is on my schedule from my Outlook calendar. So that is really awesome. You have the option to record meetings, and if you're anything like me, your first thought is, I don't want to hear myself recorded, right? But what's really, really cool about that is if you've got a meeting with a few people and someone has to get up, someone misses the first 10 minutes of the meeting because they're late to the call, because they're on another call, just so many reasons that we might miss a portion of the meeting. Well, now that's not an issue because you can just go right back in the recording and make sure that you did not miss anything important. I also personally really love the activity tab. Like I said earlier, especially with the mobile app, when I just kind of want to catch up or kind of preview what I'm going to be walking into, you can see all of your activities. So any channels or teams that you're involved in, any chats that you're involved in, any mentions, which you can mention people with the little @ symbol, which is really cool too. That's going to all be right there within your activities, so you can catch up super quickly. Again, I just love the organized conversations. I love that everything that you talk about can kind of have its own particular place, especially with projects. That can be super, super helpful. And most importantly for us in these difficult times, it's really, really been able to feel more like being in the office together. Now, When all of this hit, we were very, very fortunate that most of our team members were already set up to be able to work remotely. It's just always been a best practice for us, especially when any sort of disasters happen or when we've dealt with power outages. We can very quickly start working again from our personal devices, and we are set up to do so securely. So we've recently adopted Teams with all of this going on, and it has been so great for us because while we didn't have the big hurdles to jump through that we're seeing a lot of people have to go through, we do still feel that separation. And with Teams, you feel more like you're being in an office together. You feel more like you are actually collaborating with your team in real time. And that's been really nice for me getting through this transition. I think it helps everyone to be a lot more efficient and productive. So moving on, Kathleen is going to give a little demonstration on Microsoft Teams.
Thanks, Ashley. As she said, I am going to be giving you a little bit of a demonstration on the Microsoft Teams features. Ashley did a good job of giving you all the features that we like and we've been using with Teams. And now I want to give you a little bit of a look at what Teams looks like and how you can maybe make it work for you. If you have an Office 365 account, you should have a Teams account or have the ability to set up Teams at your firm or organization. If you are not sure about that, definitely please contact WAMS. Ashley will give you all that information at the end of our webinar, but if you have an Office 365 account, most likely you're able to use Teams. So the first feature that I'm going to show you a little bit about is the chat feature. And I just want you to know up front that the chat feature is much more than just a texting or a quick messaging app. You can certainly use it that way, but there's many more features that are available, and it's just like Ashley mentioned, it really cuts down on Outlook clutter. So I'm going to show you a little bit about the chat feature and how it is just so much more than a simple texting or messaging app. You can certainly use it that way, but there is a lot more to it. It's naturally going to keep you organized, and it will certainly cut down on your Outlook clutter. And for years, I've had clients asking me how to manage their Outlook. And there really isn't a fantastic way to manage Outlook except for with folders, especially because depending on your role at a firm, you could get hundreds of emails a day, some of them client important emails, some where you're just getting a courtesy copy, CC'd on something, and you don't necessarily need to reply, but you're going to have to go through at least and read all of those emails. So now, if you start implementing Teams, and especially the chat feature, one of the things that we found at WAMS is our Outlook inboxes are more geared towards our communication with our clients, and then chat allows us to be very organized because you're chatting with either one person or a group, and as Ashley said, very quickly. So what you're looking at right now is just a little example of the chat screen. You can see that there is a chat here between the training user who is logged in right now, myself and Ashley. And we just kind of went quickly back and forth, and that was all there was to it. I have another chat here from the training user to myself. Again, just quick little conversations. As soon as I want to add something to a chat that's already existing, all I need to do is go down to the bottom of the screen here where it says type a new message, and I'm going to type in what do you think, because I sent a document to Ashley to take a look at, and I'm just going to press enter, and that's it. It immediately notifies Ashley that she has a message from me, assuming that she has the Teams application open, even if it's minimized. if she has the Teams app on her phone, if she has the notification settings, that also will notify her as well. So it's just really instantaneous and it's quick and it keeps your Outlook from being so cluttered. You'll notice if you look at the chat screen here that there is a Word document available. And so in our chat back and forth, I asked her if she would take a look at a document. So instead of emailing it to her, then having to go into your sent items, have it go back and forth, this document is now part of our Teams application, and it's also being saved and backed up through OneDrive. So if I edit it or Ashley edits it, in fact, we can both edit it at the same time, it will synchronize our changes. And all I had to do to get that document part of our chat was just to go to the paperclip and then upload from my computer, or I could, if I had it saved in OneDrive, but this was a file that I had on my computer, upload from my computer, and then it adds the document right there in the chat. Now, eventually, the chat between Ashley and I is going to get long, and this document may get lost. And I'm not going to want to scroll through, pages of chats to try to find this document if I want to go back to it, or if Ashley wants to go back to it and edit it. So when you add a file to a chat, it automatically puts it under files up top. So you don't have to scroll through months, weeks, whatever, of a chat between you and somebody or you and a group of people, because the files, anything you add will be automatically listed right there. Very organized. Really what it does is it organizes you automatically simply by grouping everybody by name. So now I'm going to show you how to create a new chat. You're seeing on my screen that I've had existing chats that I can add text and documents to. But if I want to start a new chat, I go up top here, I click new chat, and then I can start typing a name or a group. So what is a group? A group allows you to name a chat so that instead of your chats being listed by just the people who are going to be part of that particular chat, you can actually describe what the chat is all about. So I may have just kind of a general ongoing conversation with Ashley about a variety of things. And then I may want to create a chat that is specific to she and I discussing WAMS webinars. So what I would want to do then to name a group is to hit the arrow in the upper right corner, and then we're going to call this WAMS webinars. Oops, if I can type here, chat. And then we're going to type in Ashley, and I can add more people, but we'll just add Ashley for today. And now I've added that new chat, set it all up, and now that that's a new existing chat, if I want to discard it, I can go ahead and click discard here. If I want to start over, if I want to add more people, I can just begin typing and adding more names from people from your organization. And then down on the bottom here, I can just type in a new message to Ashley, and we can begin discussing our WAMS webinars instead of it being grouped in with our general discussion. And as Ashley mentioned, that you can have some fun chats. It doesn't have to be all about work only. And if you want to keep that out of your work conversations, then you would create a new chat, maybe name that whatever, the more interesting, fun topic could be, talking about sports or something like that. So that's a little bit about Microsoft Teams chat. I'm going to now give you a little bit of information about creating calendar invitations. And so I'm going to switch over to the calendar. Now, this is just a training account, so you're not seeing appointments like you would see on your own Microsoft calendar in Teams. Teams calendar is synchronized with your Outlook calendar. So if you add something in your Outlook calendar, it automatically appears on your Teams calendar and vice versa. But the nice thing about creating a meeting in your Teams calendar is that you can, first of all, immediately click Meet Now, which will start up a meeting. You can choose New Meeting, where you can schedule a meeting, or if you actually just click on your calendar at a certain time and date, it will automatically just create you a new meeting. So you're going to title your meeting, and we'll call this one Webinar Planning Discussion. We're going to add required attendees. So again, we'll add Ashley. It's already picked up the date and time that I clicked on my calendar, so I don't have to do anything about that. If it's not going to be repeating, I don't need to change there. Add channel is something we'll get to maybe on another webinar, but what that will allow you to do is to add the meeting to the channel in your Teams account, so that when you look through a particular channel, you can see when the meeting was scheduled. It will give you a history once the meeting has been completed. You can record, as Ashley said, your meetings, which means that not only will the history of the fact that a meeting took place in your channel, but also if you choose to record it, the recording and the link to the recording will be right there within the channel. And I'll be showing you what a channel looks like in just a couple minutes, so that hopefully that makes a little bit more sense to you. So I would just finish adding in any other information if I needed to, any details for the meeting, add location. What you are not seeing is the specific details about the meeting yet, but if I go ahead and I just click send, the meeting will appear on my calendar. And if I open it back up, now you're going to see that what Ashley receives is a link to the meeting, so that when she goes ahead to attend, all she'll have to do is open the calendar appointment, whether it be from Teams or whether it be from Outlook, and the link will be right there, and she can start up the meeting, the Teams meeting.
And, I just have to say, Kathleen, I love this because previously, we would use something like a GoToMeeting. And so I would have to, on the GoToMeeting platform, actually set it up and then copy and paste that information in there and kind of hope that everyone gets it and sees that in the notes and that it works well. What I love about this is it integrates right with the Outlook calendar, and all of that meeting information is already embedded in every meeting that we create.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is just, a really great application. It's, been a long time since a new application has come out from any company, especially Microsoft's, that's just really changing the way that we work and communicate. And I really have to say that getting used to and starting to use Teams has just made a huge difference. And it's just great that you can see right here, and you can hear the collaboration between myself and Ashley, the way we're really truly using this application, not just demoing it to you, but you're hearing how we can use it as well. So the next aspect of Teams, or the next feature that I want to cover with you, is actually Teams. It's kind of funny to say, right? We're going to talk about Teams in Teams, but really this is the crux of the Teams application. But when you first launch this application, when you first go into Teams, this is the part that I think people without any kind of training and a general overview don't necessarily really understand or get just from looking at the application. Chat is simple because you could see it, quick and easy communication, creating a meeting from your calendar. And there are, by the way, multiple different ways besides the way that I demonstrated you to create a meeting. But I just wanted to give you a quick, general overview of the fact that it's very simple to start a calendar or create a meeting right from the calendar in Teams. Now, what is Teams in Teams? It allows you to create categories for anything that you work on and you collaborate with other people. So this is just a demonstration account, but what you're looking at right now are teams that have been created. So this one is called US Sales. This one is called Sales and Marketing. This one's called Retail, Mark 8 Project, and Digital Initiative. Underneath each of these teams are what are called channels. Now, Ashley and I referred to channels earlier, and I'm going to explain that to you further. But I think what I'm going to do in order to try to make this a little bit more clear is I'm going to create a new team that would be relevant to, for example, Ashley and I. So we are going to be providing to our clients monthly webinars. So instead of just chatting with her back and forth on a webinar, I can create a team for she and I and anybody else who may want to be part of these webinars. And then we can create channels for each of our monthly webinars where we can communicate just like chatting, but we can also do a lot more with this as well. Files, to-do lists, and it's organized under a main category, and then we have channels underneath it. So I'm just going to create a demo for you right now so you get an idea of how this might work for you. You have to think about what your job is. You know, for our law firm clients, your team would be your client, and then the channels might be your matters. Now, if you have a document management system or a file saving system that you have in place, Teams isn't going to replace that because you still need a place to save your documents, be able to go back to them and find them. But Teams is great for collaborating. So I'm going to go down to the bottom here and I'm going to choose join or create a team. And I'm just going to choose create a team. And we're going to build a team from scratch. And mostly I recommend when you create a team, you want to make it private. If you make it public, anybody who goes to create a team will see the team that you created and can jump in. If, you know, there may be reasons why a firm or an organization would want a public team, something that does have to do with the entire organization or firm. But if you are, for example, working with a client and certain people within the firm, you probably don't want to keep all of your conversation and all of that particular team available to everybody. So we're going to go ahead and choose private, and I'm going to call this one WAMS webinars and create.
And what I think is kind
And
of so
yeah,
funny about this, Kathleen, is that
yes,
you're showing them exactly what we have. We have our webinar team and channel set up just like this. And like when we're working on the Teams guides that we've been providing to our clients every week and putting on our website, I love that as we're preparing each week, we can just drop a file and start looking at it or share an article that we read that might be good to put in there. I mean, the possibilities are endless and it all is pertinent to that particular project that we're working on. It's just been so helpful.
yeah, really true, right? Because, you know, sending, for example, when we were researching, right, we shared a link to an article about whether Teams will replace Outlook or not. And just to say something about that, and Ashley, you know, you may want to say something further as well, but you know, there is a school of thought that says that one day Teams will replace Outlook completely. But, you know, Ashley and I've had some conversations about this, and we both pretty much agree that we don't see that Outlook will ever completely go away. At least right now, the
Exactly.
way that we're using it, you know, that's, you know, what do you think?
Exactly. Well, I would say the reason it just would to me just doesn't make sense is I think that Teams is for working internally. I think that Teams is for collaborating with everyone in your organization internally. But I think it could get really difficult and messy if you are working with I mean, look at WAMS. If we were to bring in some of our clients into our Teams discussions when we're working on a project for them, or if we were to start bringing in some of our vendors and partners that we work with, and all of a sudden we have all of our channels for them. That is where I think we just have the same clutter that we currently experience with Outlook, right? But if we
Right.
use Outlook mostly in our email, our actual email mostly for external conversations and Teams for internal conversations, to me at least, that's what I've been doing more. And that has been extremely helpful. And of course, there are going to be times where you still need to send out a company wide email, or you need company wide email threads, or there is a long discussion to be had about one particular thing that does require extensive emails that everyone can go back and look at. And you may be attaching so many things that it's a little bit too robust for chat, and then it's taking a lot
Right.
longer to find the things that you need or the documents that were shared. So when it's larger conversations or conversations with those outside of your organization, that is where I think Outlook and having a regular email account is still going to be so important. To me, Teams is internal, and I am sure other people might disagree and other people might view it differently, but what I love about Teams is that it is only for our organization. If I know that I have a notification in Teams, it's someone from WAMS that needs something from me. And a lot of the time that is going to be, especially in my role, of course, I'm not as client facing as some of our other team members. It's going to be more important to me to hop in and see, what does Kathleen need from me? What is going on with the sales team right now? Who needs a little bit of support right now? And then I can get to that more urgently. Where, as with emails, if something is coming in through Outlook, I know that I have a little more time. It's usually not very urgent, of course, unless it's marked urgent, right? So for me, that's kind of the big difference. It really helps me to be more organized in that
Yeah,
way.
I mean, I would definitely agree with that, and I think your input is right on. I would say there's one other thing that's going to stop Teams from completely replacing Outlook, and that is that, at least as of now, Teams comes with Office 365, but you have to have an Office 365 subscription, and not everybody has the right subscription and or has an Office 365 account anyway. So that's going to be, long term, that's always going to be an issue, number one. And then number two, you don't necessarily know that your client or people you need to deal with who are outside of your firm or organization have any desire to adopt Teams. So, if you're using it and you're wanting them to use it, but they don't have an interest in it, then, that's going to be problematic too. So, it's just some interesting conversation and, things to mull over. But certainly we, are encouraging everybody to consider Teams as a way of communicating and keeping yourself organized within your firm or your company. So let's now go back to looking at how you actually set up a team. So far, all I've done is just create the team and named it WAMS Webinars. I'm going to skip this part right here. And now I can go back later on if I need to, and I can add people to the team. This again is a demo copy of Teams, so I can't add Ashley to that, but I can add names of people who are part of this demo group. I could have done it right then when I chose to skip, or I can go back now and I can add more members. So you can set up a team and add or remove members later on. I would just choose here, add members, and one of the demo names here is Megan, so we'll just add Megan. And that's all you have to do in order to create and add somebody to a team. You can choose whether they're a member or an owner. Owner gives them more rights to do things like add and delete people from the group. So as soon as I created the new team, it's down at the bottom of my list. Now, this demo copy doesn't have that many teams yet, but eventually you may, and I certainly do, have many teams, and I have some that I definitely don't want to be at the top. So one thing that you might want to do is drag your important team up to the top. So we can do that, and you just, pull it up to change the order around. Now, another thing you're going to see is under each team that you create, it's creating for you automatically a general channel. And that's just, again, going to be general information discussion, right? See down in the bottom, you can start a new conversation. We can add files like I showed before. There's lots of other different things you can do with the conversation. But if I've created a team for WAMS webinars, then what I really want to do is be able to break the WAMS webinars down by each of our different topics that are going to be coming up over, the future months. So what I would do to make this really organized is I would go ahead and add a channel and just give it a name. So we'll be discussing our cloud desktop in an upcoming webinar. So we'll put in just a title here. We'll call it Cloud Webinar. Of course, I can, add descriptions, standard access, accessible to everyone on the team. This would be where you could create a channel under a team that some people had access to and some people didn't. So it's really helpful to know that you can have a general team that certain people have been given access to, but then you can add a channel that's private. So maybe you have, just one or two people. So an example of that would be, I worked with somebody in the accounting department at one of our clients the other day, and she has an accounting team with 4 people, and she created an accounting team, but then in general, that's where they're all going to chat, discuss, post links, files, whatever, the need may be. But then she wanted to be able to have a private channel with just one of the people in the accounting group. So she created a channel and then made it private, and then was able to add just one person, and not everybody could see that channel. So that's another really great thing about this. It gives you a lot of power and control. So we'll just click add, and it's going to add the channel. And there we go. There's my cloud webinar channel. So you can see there's just all kinds of possibilities for communicating, collaborating, adding files, having a conversation. It doesn't all have to be grouped under general. It can just be as many different channels as you wish. To try again to translate this, especially for our, legal clients, the way that this would work for our law firms would be, you would create teams for your clients, and then underneath the team, you might put in matters for them, or whatever you might be helping them with. Maybe you have a legal matter with a particular client that you're assisting with, but then they're also making real estate purchases. So you might want to separate those and have 2 different channels. If we look at some of these existing sample channels, just so you can, see what it might look like. Again, this is just, a demo, but here this person, Lynn, is posting some points about their sales on the West, and then somebody else replied, and they added a contract that they want to look at. You'll notice over here there are thumbs ups and emojis that you can add. You can start a new conversation or reply to an existing conversation. So that's a little bit different than chat, whereas chat's just back and forth. This actually allows you to group your conversations. So instead of starting a new conversation each time you want to say something, if you want to reply to a specific portion of the conversation, then you would do reply instead of going down to start a new one. So this is even more powerful than chat because it truly gives you power to collaborate and again, stay very organized. So I mentioned before, but I just want to share with you again that if you add files to a chat or a team or a channel, then you're not going to want to scroll through a very lengthy conversation to try to find a file. You can always go up here to the files, and any file that anybody's added will be here. Everyone on the team, assuming they've been given access, can get to it. Sync will allow you to synchronize changes if two people were actually working on the file at the same time. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, you know, because really we don't have in any of our typical client scenarios, many of whom use document management systems or save files, of course, in, you know, folders in Windows. You can't be in the same document at the same time. You can create a copy or a new version, and depending on the type of system you use, you can create a new document and then replace it with the new document with the changes. But truly being able to have two people work on the same document at the same time and synchronize them, this is, you know, this is a whole new world that I think many of us have been wanting to do for a long time. And one other thing that's kind of nice is this wiki here when you have your Teams channel. When you go to wiki, this is just a place where you can type. So for example, we just use this as like a to-do list. And you know, so we'll do, I'll say to-do list here. And then we'll put in here that, you know, this will be report preparation. We'll do prep here. And then your content goes here and you begin typing. So it's different than a chat because it's like a little document. It's not, you know, it's not a Microsoft Word document, but you can see you have formatting tools available to you up front. And if I wanted to have somebody be flagged, right, then I can use the @ symbol, and then they will be notified that this is something maybe for them specifically that you want them to do. So we'll just use Megan here again, but that will let Megan know, and when she goes to this team or she goes to this document, she will see her name and know that this is an item for her. And then the other thing that will happen is that when Megan goes to her Teams account, in her activity up at the top, anytime she has been mentioned, that's the term that the @ symbol means, or that's what, you know, that's the way to describe that. Megan was mentioned in that to-do list. When Megan goes to her own Teams account, she'll see in the activity feed that someone has mentioned her, and it will, you know, pop right up there at the top, and she'll know that this is something that, you know, she's been mentioned to take care of. Or maybe just simply have somebody be sure to look at this if it's something, you know, really important. If you are working with a big team, like I do with our engineers on our clients, 5 or 6 of us will be all on the client team. And then whatever project we have going on for that client, we create a channel for that. And then whenever somebody needs to be notified that, you know, this is something that you need to be aware of, or you need to be, you know, taken care of, then we'll do the mention and it pops up in the activity feed. So there's a lot to Teams. I think the most important part of what we wanted to share with you today, Ashley and I, is just for you to begin to understand the power of this. I know that sometimes, there's a feeling of not wanting to implement something new. And to be honest with you, before getting really into Teams and really having an understanding of it, when it was mentioned, my thought was, another app. Like, I mean, how can I possibly manage more communication than I already do with Outlook? But now, like Ashley and I mentioned, it's so useful to us, and it's not managing another application. It's actually helping me manage Outlook and my clients and my to-do list without having to come up with a system. It's just right there for you.
Kathleen, I can honestly say I felt the same way at first when I was hearing about implementing Teams, because there was a time where I know we were looking at some other platforms for internal communication. I know there was one team, I think when I first started with WAMS, where we were looking at Trello and a couple of other things for this type of
Mhm.
internal communication and management. And I was a little bit nervous to take on Teams, but the moment we adopted it, I really did realize just how much easier it made my life and how much easier it made managing all of our internal conversations.
Yeah, so hopefully, Ashley and I have really been able to impart to you today the power and, not to be, too flowery about it, but in some ways the beauty of what Teams can do. I do, of course, provide training for our clients, and I'm sure you can see today that it's not too hard to use, but I think there's a lot to it. There's way more than we have time in this webinar to share. I definitely think if you want to adopt Teams, this would be something that you would want to provide training, because people really need to understand not only how it works, but why. And there, again, are many, many other features. You can actually incorporate many other apps. It's not just for sharing Word documents. There's a whole apps feature here. And that again is something we can address in further training, or maybe in future a future webinar. But just it's again very powerful, and we hope that we were able to give you a good overview today. And Ashley, I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to you now. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Kathleen, and thank you again to everyone who joined us today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to info@wamsinc.com. That's info at wamsinc.com. And WAMS Webinar Wednesdays are back in full force. The next webinar will be on June 24th at 10 a.m. The topic is working remotely securely. Keep an eye out for that invite, and we'll see you soon.